just talk about initially your biggest takeaways from Zeb Nolan and just how you think he performed on Saturday night.
I mean, if you take everything into context, this kid's playing spring ball at North Dakota State, leaves North Dakota State, gets a GA job, studying film for coaches, doing cut-ups all summer. And then the first week of camp, they're like, hey, do you want to play? So not going through any conditioning whatsoever for, I'm going to go on a limb and guess 4 months to step in and throw 4 touchdown passes. Essentially, I mean, not completely off the street, but more or less just off the street. It's got shades of late career Jets, Vinny Testaverde to it. And, it was impressive. It was really impressive. They asked him to go in there and do a job, take care of the football, make plays where you can. And he did that stuff. And, that's what you'd expect to see from somebody that's got that kind of game experience. So, I mean, the next question morphs into is, how healthy is Luke Doty? And where does that kind of leave us for this Saturday?
And I want to get to that more, Alex, in just a second. Before we do, continuing to talk offense, though, again, like you said, there were a lot of positives that came from Saturday night's game. Of course, when you win 46-0, it's not hard to have a long list of positives. But I do agree with something you said earlier that I think, again, did we learn anything new? No. And I would say this, Alex, most of the things that I thought about this football team, the things that we predicted and projected, I was more so reaffirmed of those things. And for example, the wide receiver position being a question mark and being a deficiency, at least early on, I think that was reconfirmed, unfortunately. I think Josh Vann, the big plus is I think maybe he showed you some flashes early in game of being that guy, the 4-star prospect or former 4-star prospect. He showed flashes of possibly being that guy, and maybe he'll be the go-to option for you. But I think, Alex, again, it's no secret as a whole that, putting it nicely, the Gamecocks wide receiver position is going to be a work in progress. I didn't see anyone on Saturday. And again, the scary thing for me, Alex, is if you can't go out there and do it against Eastern Illinois, then who are you going to go do it against? You know what I mean? Because fans look at it and say, well, look at this guy, the 40 he runs, and he's this tall and he can jump this high. But what matters is what you do under the lights. And if you're out there dropping passes and you're running the wrong routes and you're not making plays against EIU, how can a coaching staff trust you to say, okay, well, we believe you'll go do it against Georgia or Kentucky or Mizzou or Auburn or any of those teams? So your overall thoughts, I guess, just on the offense. And again, I think you'd probably agree with me. The receivers are definitely the question mark, and this is going to be an offense that's just going to have to lean on the run game this season.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm going to reserve judgment on a lot of that because, I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the only deep ball we threw the whole game was on that first possession, correct?
Yep. Most everything I would say is around, I mean, the longest you saw was 20 yards. I mean, it really wasn't a stretch the field type of play, I feel like. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean that's so not getting any examples of that is why I'm gonna hold back, because I thought Josh Vann actually looked pretty good for as limited from a passing set as they were going with. I mean, he caught everything that came his way. He made some moves getting upfield. So I mean, I think he looked pretty good. Nick Muse continued to look good, or I thought he played pretty well. Jaheim Bell. Unfortunately, got that touchdown called back, but that guy's obviously somebody we need to get the ball in their hands more. Dak had a couple of, of course, direct snaps that, didn't really go anywhere, and we will cross the running game bridge here in a minute. But, it seemed very, very limited on what they were willing to put out there. And, of course, how much of that has to do with, again, you basically got, the 2021 version of Vinny Testaverde back there taking snaps for you, who was a graduate assistant before we started this venture. So I'm just going to let's see Luke in there for one game, and then we can go, okay, we're in a whole world of hurt here. But until you get that full look with the full complement of everything on offense, I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's going to be a strength of the offense going forward, but I think it could be better than what we saw on Saturday, if that makes any sense.